Today, we're going to be talking about the benefits that there are to holding a second citizenship. My name is Leon Versfeld. I am the managing partner of Versfeld and Hugo. We're a global immigration law firm specializing mainly in immigration to the United States, as well as to Australia with my partner, Etienne Hugo. We also have strategic partnerships with a variety of other lawyers and agents across the world to serve our corporate clients in the intercompany transfers of executives and managers, and also we assist with individuals and investors. Now, holding a second passport in a global society has become the next thing to do, and especially when things change in the US, they change every 4 years. It may be sometimes helpful to have a second passport and maybe just go camp out in a different country where things may be a little bit more favorable. We're going to go into some more details on what the benefits there are, what benefits there is with regards to holding a second passport. So just as a background, I graduated from the University of Pretoria in South Africa, where I'm licensed to practice law in South Africa, England, and Wales, and now exclusively.
Hi to everyone from Dubai. I'm really excited to share real stories, real processes, and real value of second citizenship for all your viewers who are looking to expand their global freedom and safety.
Binu, would you maybe give the listeners a little bit of background about, she is one of Versfeld and Hugo's partners in our global investment programs. Binu, would you maybe give us a little bit of a background?
Sure. So basically, I work for a company that is government authorized for citizenship and residency across the world. The name of the company is Orients, and we specialize in finding solutions for clients who are looking at getting second citizenship. It could be for their business, it could be for their family. So be it all the Caribbeans, be it the European options, be it Portugal, Malta, we specialize in each of them. We have over 14 offices around the world. In fact, 3 of them are in Dubai. Dubai is the headquarter. So we have been doing this for more than 11 years, and we have helped over 10,000 families get citizenships across the world. And there isn't a file that has come to us that we have not found a solution for. We specialize in customizing solution for clients based on what they're looking for and their goals are. It's not a copy-paste solution when it comes to us. So it has been fun. I've worked outside the company and I've worked internally as well. It's been a beautiful journey so far, being a part of people's journey of finding their ultimate destination of becoming a citizen of a particular country. So that journey with them, their family, is pretty beautiful.
Thank you, Binu. So just so that you all know, there are various different ways to immigrate to various different countries. Today's seminar is going to exclusively focus on residency by investment, that is getting permanent residence into a specific country, and or citizenship by investment. So this program is going to exclusively just focus on immigration by investment. The United States has a program similar to that. This is not the purpose of this seminar. We'll delve into some other countries with Binu today, but the residency by investment is under the EB-5 program. And under the EB-5 program, you invest $800,000 into an approved immigration project. And that project needs to be in a targeted employment area or a rural area, and needs to create 10 jobs for US citizens in order for a candidate to qualify. $800,000 is an investment. It is not a donation. We'll get into that in a little bit with Binu and some other countries. And as a result, a family unit of a principal applicant, a spouse, and kids under 21 are eligible for permanent residency to the United States. That ultimately leads to citizenship after having had your green card for 5 years. So that's just a quick overview of the residency by investment in the United States. So myself, I hold 2 passports. And if you are from South Africa watching, you know that the Groen Mamba, as we refer to the green South African passport, does not get you very far in other parts of the world. I think the only benefit that I had in my world travels from time to time without needing to get a visa was one time when I needed to travel to Brazil, wherein my South African passport was far more beneficial than my US passport. But we're going to delve into why it is that most people consider second citizenship and residency as it relates to travel. Bino, maybe let me ask you, what is the most common residency? And we'll just first start with residency and we'll move over to citizenship. What is the most common countries that you oftentimes deal with, residency by investment?
So it's always the crowd favorite, Portugal. Portugal has been
Portugal.
the number one across all regions, across all nationalities. It has been favorite for those who really want a strong residency, which converts into a citizenship. And it is a very good investment option. It's not just something that you donate and you forget the money. This is a good investment program where a lot of the investment is mainly the guaranteed buyback, your principal is guaranteed. So Portugal, because it's a European country, you get the golden visa, then eventually getting the citizenship is so much easier. So a lot of people choose this over other options that we have in Europe.
And so tell me, the Portugal go by residency by investment to Portugal. Tell us just a little bit about what the requirements are in order to qualify for residency by investment through Portugal.
Perfect. So back in the day, Portugal did have a real estate investment option, which had to be closed, and then it turned into an investment fund option. Right now, the minimum investment requirement is €500,000, which is invested in different kind of funds. It could be in renewable energy, hospitality. You can choose from a combination of it. Some of these funds gives you guaranteed buyback at the end of 6 years, which gives you the comfort that your money is safe and secure. And a lot of them give you competitive return on investment. That's between 2 to 3% ROI. But the benefit is not this. The benefit is that you get access to all of Europe. You get access to a path to get a European citizenship. You get access to healthcare. You get the chance to work and do your business in Portugal while you're waiting to be eligible for citizenship. So the investment is pretty great because all of them are authorized finance and fund managers that you're going to be working with. So everything is secure and regulated by the government. So Portugal, that's why it's the crowd favorite. It's safe, it's secure, it's regulated, and it's basically a good investment to be a part of because it also gives you returns. So that's why these options are pretty good for Portugal right now.
And tell me, what kind of family unit is included in this investment to Portugal?
So it's mainly the husband, wife, or the spouse, partner, and the kids who are still financially dependent on the parents, who are still in the university. Make sure they're unmarried. It's very important. As long as they're unmarried and financially dependent on the parents, they're eligible to be dependents for the main applicant.
So that's kind of interesting because in the US, only kids can derive their benefit from the principal immigrant or investor if the kids are under 21. But you're saying Portugal actually allows for kids who are still dependent. These are
Yes.
university kids. These are kids who may not even be married, but are over the age of 21. Is that correct?
Correct. Because, see, Portugal understands that there are a lot of children who still want to do higher education, like your masters and your PhDs, and getting married is not the ultimate goal for a lot of them. It's improving themselves. So being dependent doesn't mean that like they're studying it. It's good for them because they still can be part of the dependency regulation or eligibility required for it. So luckily, there is a little bit of room for people to be eligible in terms of how old the kids are, because you need 5 years timeline to be eligible for the citizenship as well. So even though you apply at a particular age for the kid, make sure they're still below the age of the cutoff so that they can be eligible for the citizenship. So don't go in at 26 or 27, because by the time you have to renew your golden visa, your child will not be eligible for it.
Gotcha. And this is kind of part of the analysis that we do, as we sign up people. Tell me real quick, what about grandma and grandpa? Are they included in this application?
It depends if they are completely dependent on the main applicant. It has to be proved that they live with the person, they're financially dependent on them, they need to be with them. Hence, we can do something like that for them as well.
Very interesting. So we have some more information about Portugal immigration on our website at Versfeld Immigration / Portugal, if you have some more questions there. I want to move on maybe to another country. Second to Portugal, that gives access to, and let me just make sure, you can be a citizen of any country to apply for residency by investment to Portugal. Is that correct?
No, there are a few restricted nationalities that cannot apply for it, but everybody's aware of it. If you're sanctioned, you are not eligible to apply for most of the European countries. There are a couple of nationalities that cannot apply for it because the country itself put them on the list of restricted nationalities, like Russia, for example, Belarusians,
Iran?
Iran. Yes, if they can actually apply if they have lived outside of Iran for more than 10 years. So there was a time when Iran could not, but it's only if they don't have any ties to Iran, they have lived outside of Iran for 10 years, then they can apply. They have to prove that they have no connection to their country at all at this point.
Perfect. And so that means you are citizens who not so fond of the current administration, they can apply for residency by investment and move to Portugal and have access to the entire European Union. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. They have access to travel to all European countries while they have the golden visa or the residency card, but they can live and work and do their business in Portugal full time. But once they get their citizenship, a European citizenship, and they convert it, the whole of Europe is their home. They can stay in Italy, Germany, Switzerland, wherever they like.
Let's maybe talk about a few other countries. Second to Portugal, what other countries do you see are very popular among people navigating from every corner of the world that finds it popular to get residency in a particular country?
Malta. Malta is
Malta.
Yeah, it's perfect. They have a permanent residency program from the get-go. You apply for it if you're eligible for it. They have a combination of donation or contribution is a better word for it, I would say. Plus, you could either rent a property or you purchase a property. There's an alternate option. So if you do that combination, you're eligible for the permanent residency. And this could be achieved in, say, 9 to 12 months' time. And you get a PR, a permanent residency from the get-go. So it is not like a golden visa that needs to be converted into a PR. It is a PR from the day one, but there's always a but. There is a compliance for 5 years. You have to make sure you behave, you are still invested in the country, and the compliance is done annually to make sure that you're still eligible for the PR. And after the 5 years is complete, you have it for life. It gets renewed every 5 years. This gives you access to all education facilities, healthcare, everything. A lot of families love choosing this option because this is an option that a lot of people choose to move to Malta. Portugal, sometimes a lot of people just do it for the golden visa or the citizenship. Malta has been a program that people choose to move there because it's an English-speaking European country. So a lot of people choose that over the other options that are out there in the industry.
And as a permanent resident of Malta, do you also have access to the European Union?
Correct. You have access to all of European countries, visa-free. But again, you can only work, live full-time and business in Malta alone, unless you become a citizen.
Sure, of course. Now, you talked about a donation. So this is not immigration by investment. This is really kind of investment in a different sense, where you are basically, let's just say, investing in the government infrastructure. Is that correct? So they probably would have a project going on where they are putting infrastructure like roads or bridges, and they will have a program that comes available with immigration benefit that you can then invest in. But that investment doesn't yield a return. The investment doesn't come back to you. That capital doesn't come back to you. Is that correct?
Correct. So the whole idea behind multiple citizenships and residency programs is that the country receive funds from interested clients who are interested in getting the citizenship or residency of the country. So the governments have structured programs for residency in exchange for economic contribution, like real estate or donation, or a combination of both. Because at the end of it, it has to benefit the country. It is a source of revenue for the country. They use that fund for, say, they could be making public schools, hospitals, correctional facilities, for example. And coming to place, like they also make airports sometimes. And there are charities that it is assigned to as well. So there are multiple ways that this fund is used by the government. But yes, there are a lot of countries that have a combination of both. And actually, a lot of clients do prefer donating over investing because they want to contribute to the development of the country they're going to become a citizen or a resident of.
Gotcha. And so, question that I didn't ask before, I see someone had posted a question here. Just going back to Portugal, if you want to obtain permanent residency to Portugal, is it a requirement that you need to speak Portuguese?
To get the citizenship, yes, not during the 5 years.
Okay, so in other words, permanent residency is okay. You can speak Afrikaans or English,
It doesn't matter.
but when it comes to citizenship,
Yeah,
you need to be able to speak Portuguese. Is that correct?
Correct. And actually, do not be afraid. It is not a test anymore. You can actually do a course, an online course. It's like learning something new. It'll be an exciting, journey for you. Learn the language. It's going to be basic, and you have 5 years to learn that. So over the 5 years, you can learn the language, do the online course, and instead of giving a test and getting anxious, you can just give that certificate that you completed the course.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that makes it really easy then.
So,
sorry, go ahead.
No, it is very easy. So do not be afraid because of that language test.
Gotcha. So just from an U.S. immigration stance, Portugal, has become a country of interest with a treaty to the United States to do potential e-visas, but Malta has always kind of been a backdoor for people who couldn't otherwise get to the United States because of the limited immigration options. So taking on Malta opportunities and becoming a citizen of Malta enables people to ultimately immigrate to the United States under the E2 visa program, where they can have a startup over here. All right, Binu, we've talked about Portugal, we've talked about Malta, but just before I move off of Malta, is it also as inclusive, if you would, as Portugal, where I can bring my kids over the age of 21, my spouse, my grandma?
You can add your children, but again, Malta is a little bit more strict in comparison to Portugal, because the proof that you have to give of how much money you're spending as on your kids and how much are they dependent on you as adults, you have to prove all of that to make sure that they're eligible for them being your dependent. But yes, wife and siblings are allowed. But again,
sorry, did you say siblings? In
sorry,
other words, I can
my
bring
bad.
my brother.
Dependent children are allowed. My bad. But but it is a lot more strict when it comes to documentation and paperwork and proof in comparison to Portugal. So bear that in mind when you do decide one over the other.
Gotcha. All right. Well, very good. We'll go into maybe one more of the popular investment by residency by investment. Do you have another popular one aside from Portugal and Malta that you oftentimes see that people fancy?
So currently we are launching our Italian Golden Visa program ourselves that we're working on. So it's basically based on a startup investment fund that you'll be working on. The investment amount is 250,000 euros. And a lot of people like Italian Golden Visa because everybody likes to retire in Italy, for example. So it is still in the initial stage. We do have a lot of inquiries coming in, but yes, Italian Golden Visa is the third most popular program currently.
Fantastic. We haven't updated our website yet with the Italian option, but we will soon update our website. Malta and Portugal is on there. Now, Binu, let's get into citizenship. Let me ask you, what is the top 3 reasons as to why people consider a second passport or a second citizenship that you've encountered?
So it's usually about control. It's control over how freely they can travel, about lifestyle, diversification of their investments, future-proofing their families' options. So a lot of people plan it for their kids so that they have multiple options to have in terms of which country they can be a part of, which country citizen they can be. Their inheritance planning is all based on the number of citizenships or the country they belong to. So in today's world, people don't want to feel stuck with one citizenship. They want to have multiple options. I know people with more than two citizenship, like how you do as well. So it's avoiding political risk, taxation. It's just personal freedom that everybody looks for when they're looking at second citizenship as a solution.
So we have had, and that's very consistent with what our experience has been. People consider it for tax reasons, not necessarily the US. The US is not as tax friendly as other jurisdictions, but some of our clients who have considered a second citizenship as US citizens in other countries has done it for tax reasons. There is also the inheritance tax that I know is a little bit different. We won't go into this seminar too much into the tax benefits that there are when you do obtain second citizenship. But like Binu was saying, consistent with our experience and people immigrating to the United States is opportunities for their kids. Ultimately, the South Africa that I grew up is not the South Africa that we have today, and the same may go for you in whichever country you are in, where the country that you grew up is not the same, and giving your kids that benefit of a second passport and opportunity to go to a higher education that is far superior to the education that your country provides may be a second reason. And the third and final reason is just also maybe tied to security and safety in the country that you grow up in. There are countries, unfortunately, where the government is just not looking after their people, and or the policing is not what it used to be. And so henceforth, criminals go rampant. And if you find yourself in a situation like that, having a secondary option to go to another country where things are a little bit more safe and secure, and your kids to play out in the street, those are the top three reasons that we've also seen. Binu, in your experience, how many citizenships has a client have? I don't know how to rephrase that. Let me say, what is the most amount of citizenships that a client that you've served before had?
So it's a little tricky question because everybody has a different reason of why they have so many passports, right? So I'll tell you something that'll be close to home for you. We had an American citizen who surrendered his American citizenship, got the same kid's passport. While he was applying for same kid's citizenship, he did the Turkey citizenship. And while he was working for the Turkey citizenship, he applied for Portugal as well. And then he did another Caribbean. So in all, he had 4 citizenships.
4 citizenships.
Yes.
So that leads me then to, I guess, a question that we oftentimes run into. Are you allowed to have more than one citizenship?
It comes down to the country of origin. For example, some countries do not allow dual citizenship, and some countries do. So if they allow dual citizenship, you are free to have multiple citizenships. There is no restriction to the number of passports. But countries like mine, we are not allowed to have dual citizenship. That is from India, that is. So what happens is, in that case, we do not go for, if we are not looking to change our citizenship, we go for a residency program like Portugal or Malta, because we get the benefit of the country, we get all the things that we're looking for, but retaining our citizenship. So plan B is there. In case we do want to change it, we have the access to it, but at this point we do not. But a lot of Indians still do change into the US citizenship, Canadian citizenship. Portugal is a big program that a lot of Indians do because of Portuguese colonization. So a lot of people got Portuguese citizenship through that as well. So yeah, it depends on the country of origin. You can have multiple citizenship if your country allows you to.
Fantastic. Yes, I know in South Africa there was a recent constitutional court order that came out as it relates to secondary citizenship. In South Africa, you have to apply to the Department of Home Affairs and letting them know you are taking on a secondary citizenship. There for a minute, there were some folks who inherently lost their South African citizenship when they took on US citizenship, but the South African Constitutional Court just recently came to make that null and void. So yes, if you are considering obtaining second citizenship, you would need to ask the country where you are from what requirements there are for your country if you no longer want to be a citizen of the country of origin before you take on secondary citizenship. So let me see. What are the top three citizen citizenship by investment that you typically deal with, Binu?
So normally it's in the Caribbeans that we recommend options from. It's Antigua, Grenada, and St. Kitts. Antigua is number one because lot of people prefer that because not that many applications going in and it's not easy to get. So Grenada and Antigua have the highest compliance level. So everyone cannot just apply and get through and get the citizenship. That basically filters down a lot of uh, people who are not eligible for the program as well. So Antigua, Grenada, and St. Kitts, all three of them have similar benefits. It's tax-free country. It has access to all of the European countries, Asian countries. It's over 150 plus visa-free access. So basically, what happens here is a lot of people who have nationalities that are difficult for them to travel around the world or expand their business, they choose to go for this option because it helps improve their lifestyle, their business expansion. It adds to their profile. So that's why people go for a secondary citizenship from the Caribbeans, because you as an American do not need it as much as another nationality would, because you have access to the world to travel very easily. In comparison to that, say someone from Nigeria who wants to travel the world will have a lot of restrictions. It's not just the restriction part, it's the process itself. It takes 4 to 6 weeks to get a visa to travel anywhere at this point. So instead of that, if they have a business that is upcoming, they can just book the tickets and go for an expo somewhere that can help expand their business. Same thing applies to their families as well. They want to open up the world for their families and not have the same restriction that they grew up with. So Caribbean is the easiest one. You have citizenship by investment there, where you have a combination of, again, donation option, where you can donate to the government and they build their country with it. And then they have a hotel shares option. So you have a combination to choose from and work with when it comes to the second passport solution.
Fantastic. You know, we had recently had a corporation wherein they were considering for some of their top executives to actually take on citizenship in the islands because of their expansion to Singapore. Now, a lot of the countries worldwide are very restrictive with regards to citizenship when you are starting up a company over there. The US not so restrictive in that sense, but some countries are very restrictive. And so oftentimes businessmen and corporations elect to have some of their executive staff take on secondary citizenship for that very purpose, in order to have a citizen, eligible citizen, start up a company to expand their global business. So we have found that to also be a benefit to corporations as it relates to that. So Binu, what is the average investment, before we get to the donation part, that one needs to make in order to get citizenship by investment?
The investment cost ranges based on the country you go with, because each country has a different investment, and the hotel that you're going to be investing in, they have a different starting point. So Antigua is starting at 325, someone is 375, someone is 350.
And these are US dollars.
US dollars. Everything in the Caribbean is at US dollars, and the investment ranges based on the hotel you're going to be investing with. In Antigua, you can own a hotel unit compared to the other Caribbean countries. You can own a title deed, but the other Caribbean options, they have hotel share options. You only have shares of the hotel and you get profits out of that. So this range depends on which country you go for, and the cost varies based on that.
And so when you do an investment as opposed to a donation, there is actually a return on your shares of this investment. Maybe, do you know what the range is of that kind of return on investment typically?
Of course. So most of these are your 5-star hotel resorts. A lot of people from North America, they travel there because of the weather. When you have too cold weather in your part of the world, they travel there. So these resorts do really well during their season. And the ROI expected on this is between 2 to 4%. Based on which hotel you go with. It's annually paid out based on the performance of the hotel. But a lot of them do really well. because they have a lot of tourism, they have music festivals. A lot of people travel by their yachts to these islands. So they do pretty well for themselves.
So, when the people, is it a requirement that you live in the islands if you apply for citizenship? Of course, there's no permanent residence. Your application is for citizenship. One step, and you're a citizen of that country. Is there a requirement that you actually live there?
No, there isn't any state requirement or visit requirement for attaining the citizenship. In fact, the whole process is done remotely. You don't even ever have to set foot into the country to get the citizenship. But yes, it is going to be really great if you get to travel to the country you're going to get the citizenship for, just to see the country itself.
Binu, so let's just talk about a typical application. So we will engage. So anybody who's interested, our office will have a brief consultation with them to kind of explore some of the possibilities and options. Our website is also very robust, versfeldimmigration.com, and the various different countries are listed under the in our website under our practice areas that deals with global practices. So it's pretty easy. If you think about Portugal, it is versfeldimmigration.com/Portugal/Malta. So pretty easy to navigate through there. There's a lot of information on our website. But let's just talk about the process. So someone is interested, they reach out to us. We do a preliminary assessment with regards to which country it may seem best. We then send them a questionnaire where we will actually vet the client. So, not a lot of immigration clients think that they need to be vetted. We vet all of our EB5 clients, but let's just talk through the vetting process to see whether or not we're actually going to take on a client and what that entails and why we're doing it.
So firstly, the first question, irrespective of which country in the Caribbean they're looking to apply for, the first question I ask the client is if they've ever had a UK visa rejection. If the client has had a UK visa rejection, we cannot onboard the client from day one. Like the conversation doesn't go further if they are rejected. The only way we can take it further is they go back, apply for the UK visa, and come back with a positive answer. And then we discuss a solution for them. Secondly, obviously, there can't be any criminal records or any financial crime against the person. Make sure that their funds are legally in their account, because they have to be financially capable and sound to be eligible for this, because proof of funds, source of funds is very important. But before all of this, if we decide or the client decides to work with us, before we onboard the client, we do our due diligence check to make sure that everything is clear from the day one so that we can actually onboard the client. So until that is clear, we do not accept the client as a responsibility, and we don't accept their documentations to process anything, or any funds are accepted until they're completely cleared from our legal team.
So two main reasons, and maybe you can echo a few more. Number one, we've got a significant and impeccable success record as it comes to immigration by investment. So that's one of the reasons why we want to make sure that people that we take on, we have a high degree of certainty that they will be successful. And number two, we have built a long-standing relationship with these government agencies. And in some of these countries, we're actually dealing directly with the people from Home Affairs or whatever the case may be, and have come to know us for applications that we submit. And the last thing we want to do is jeopardize our reputation by having some crook or some guy trying to figure out some money laundering scheme through one of these processes in order to do so. So therefore, we vet our clients when it comes by immigration by investment very, very closely. Is there any additional reasons as to why you guys would scrutinize an investor or potential client?
It's just basically these few things that we have to make sure. So we always tell our clients, do not lie to your lawyer, your priest, and us. So as honest as you are, we'll be able to help you the best. So always make sure that you are very straightforward. Answer the questions we ask you honestly, because even if you lie to us today, for basic stuff. But tomorrow, when the citizenship unit is going to be doing their due diligence, which is going to be 1,000 times more intense than what we would do as a company, there is no going back at that point, because you have lied on paper to a government body. So that is why it's very important that the questionnaire we ask, the questions we ask regarding your funds, your background, your business, you can't hide anything about your business. You have to make sure you clearly inform how much funds, income you make annually. Everything has to be very clear. So these things cannot be hidden. So always honesty is very important when we talk to our clients. So when I start a conversation, it's like, please forget everything else. Just be 100% honest with me when I ask you questions. So it goes from there.
Great. Now let's really quickly talk about the process. We've talked about the citizenship by investment. I think someone just asked here on the chat who all gets included. So you've got a principal applicant who's going to apply for, who's going to be included. This is the spouse and kids going to be included in citizenship by investment as well.
So the Caribbean citizenship is amazing because they understand the true meaning of family. So here you can add your spouse, you can add your parents, you can add your spouse's parents, you can add your kids. Some of the Caribbeans lets you add.
Hold on a second. You can add mother-in-law in this process?
Mother-in-law and father-in-law as
That's
well.
probably why it's not so popular. I don't know.
Yeah, that's very, very important to a lot of our clients from different parts of the world, because they all live as a big family, and when they do apply, they apply with the entire family, like the spouse, their parents, and their own parents. And the good thing is the age limit here is higher for some of the Caribbean options. It goes up to the age of 30. So as long as your child is unmarried and financially dependent on the main applicant, they are eligible. So there are a few age difference in some of the countries, but there are brackets till the age of 30. So if there's a client who has a kid who is 27, 28, 29, there are options in the Caribbean that makes them eligible for the citizenship as a dependent. And that's not over yet. In some of the options, you can also add your unmarried siblings. So if you have siblings who are unmarried and financially dependent on you, you can add them on the citizenship as a dependent as well.
Okay, but Binu, does that mean that there is an investment for each individual family member?
So the investment or the donation does not change drastically. It doesn't double as per the size of the number of people. It just, the government fees or the process fees is what's additional to it. The investment amount doesn't increase drastically for that reason. So it's pretty good. Antigua, in fact, is one of the best options for a huge family. Antigua has been the crowd favorite when you have the in-laws, your own parents, your wife, kids, 7 kids, 8 kids. Antigua is happy to have them under one file.
Gotcha. Huh. So what you also then by that you're saying that if you do apply, it may be best to just think of everybody and apply for everybody at the same time, rather than applying for half of the family now and then later applying for the rest of the family. Is that correct?
Correct, because the documentation, the fees that you're paying, you'll be doing that all over again in terms of your due diligence of the main applicant has to be done again if it's done after a particular timeline. So you'll be paying extra for something that you could have saved if you applied off with all of them together in the first time itself.
Gotcha. All right. I've seen some questions coming. I'm going to answer some of those questions here in a little bit. But Binu, let's just quickly talk about the application process. So people are coming on board. There's some legal fees that are usually associated with it. What is the average legal fee as associated with most of the programs? Obviously, it varies depending on how many family members you have. But just from a principal applicant, typically the legal fees associated with residency by investment or citizenship by investment.
So for residency by investments, it's an average of 20,000 euros onwards, depending on the size of the family, it adds up. When it comes to citizenship by investment, it ranges from 15,000 if it's single applicant and upwards. So it is always in that range, $15,000 for the Caribbean and 20,000 euros for the European programs. But yes, that's the minimum range as a professional fee that is charged, and that fee includes your legal fees, the lawyer fee, in fact.
Yes, exactly.
Sure.
And so that's good. The other common question that we get is, how long does it typically take? Now, each program on our website, we have some estimated timelines for each of these typical applications. So again, for those who missed it earlier, I encourage you to go to Versfeld Immigration /Portugal wherever you want to immigrate to. And then from there, you can see how long it typically takes and what kind of investment is requirement and who all is included. So if you missed that earlier. Binu, what is the typical time frame as to how long things usually take? Does it take, like in the US, it takes like forever, like 5 years, 3 years? How long does it take on average to become a permanent resident of a different country or citizen?
So when it comes to the Caribbeans, it all depends on the client's efficiency. So it's all up to how efficiently the client can provide documents and can be responsive to the case officer who's assigned to them. So typically, I've had amazing clients who have had all the documents ready, and we have been able to submit their file within 2 weeks once we onboarded them. But then there are clients who take 2 months. So it depends on how long they take to give you the documents. But the process in itself to get the citizenship differs from each country. So Antigua is a range to get the passport in hand. You can talk about somewhere between 9 to 11 months to get the passport in hand. And this is—
Hold on a second. USCIS, if you guys are listening, I want you to take some notes on how quickly a third world country is processing immigration. Sorry, keep going.
All right. And then Grenada is shorter. You can actually get the passport between 8 to 9 months, because how amazing their compliance is because of the ETO treaty. Their compliance is great. So they have been doing this for so long. Their timeline is good. They don't have any backlogs as such. So they can actually process the citizenship faster than the other Caribbeans. Then St. Kitts is similar to Grenada as well. You're talking about between 8 to 9 months again to get the St. Kitts citizenship, as there are no backlogs. When I say backlogs, I'm talking about the sheer number of application that comes through to these countries for citizenship. And compared to that, the reason why they don't have backlog is because these countries have been doing the citizenship program for years. St. Kitts was the oldest one, so they know exactly how to get things right.
And so tell me, I'm sorry, on the permanent resident side, how long does it average take? Also under a year?
So
like Portugal.
Yeah, for Portugal, basically, to get the golden visa card in hand, you have to be patient. It can take somewhere between 15 to 18 months to get your golden visa in hand. But having said that, just so you know, your citizenship timeline does not depend on the golden visa card. Your citizenship timeline starts when the application process has gone in. Your application has gone in, your citizenship timeline starts. If it is 6 months from now, it starts from then. And then 5 year completes, and then you can apply for the citizenship. It does not get affected by how long it took to get your residency card.
Fantastic. So the time is not told for citizenship to Portugal by how long the PR process takes, correct?
Correct.
Fascinating. I just wish USCIS could actually listen to this, take some notes on how other countries are doing this so efficiently.
They are.
Binu, what are the main reasons for delay that you see typically happen? When we talk about these fast timelines, I'm sure that there are some cases that are delayed, but what are the most common reasons for delay?
The common reasons could be when it could be from the client's fault, where they did not mention that they have a particular business in a particular country, and then they have not shared the proof of that business or the license. Lack of documentation or not being upfront about some things can delay that. So when the unit will do their own due diligence, they'll come back asking for clarifications on these things, and that can delay the whole process by months. Which is not a favorable thing. That's why as we said, you have to be honest from day one about everything that you do. Secondly, it could be a timeline problem with the unit itself, because they have too many files to handle, and it could be a delay from the country in itself. But apart from these two things, the third thing could be the banking compliance, because apart from the citizenship unit compliance itself, After that, there is a banking compliance once the client is approved as well. So the bank itself has to do their own compliance and make sure that the funds are clear. Uh, they have de-risked the whole amount before they can proceed to the passport submission.
And so do you find some folks who, I don't know, they may not have listened the first time when you said you can include your mother-in-law, or they didn't want to include the mother-in-law, and later on they's like, all right, my wife says we don't include the mother-in-law, nobody's going. But that would obviously delay the process, adding some dependents later on.
So once you've started the process, it's difficult to add them in the middle. So what happens is you end up waiting for your entire process to be done, which would take almost a year. And then by then, we don't know what the cost is going to be for the process, the government fees, and then also the law could change. I had a client who did the same kid citizenship for himself, and he was in a hurry for his business reasons, and he did not add his wife and kids. And he had an adult daughter who was like 18 or 19 at the time. And by the time he got his citizenship and he had his passport, he decided to add his family after. And at that point, State and Kids had changed the law at that point for kids who are above 18 years cannot be added as dependents post-citizenship. So now if he had to add her, he had to do another whole donation altogether at the entire amount to add her. So now they've changed it back, though. Luckily, they've changed it back that you can add 18 and above again, but you don't know if the laws can change in a year's time and the cost can change. So it does happen where people do regret not adding their family in the beginning and then doing that all over again a year later.
Gotcha. And tell me, similar to the United States, once the EB-5 law is in place and you filed under that legislation, if the law changes afterwards, it doesn't retroactively go and have any effect, negative effect on those who have already filed and standing in line. Is that correct?
Correct. So there have been so many changes in the Caribbean over so many years that I've witnessed myself. So there was a big change in the cost for St. Kitts a year and a half ago. From 150,000 euros, it became $250,000, sorry. And the clients who had applied or submitted their file did not get affected by the double in price, so they did not have to pay 250. Instead, they still stuck with the same price. And I had a client who delayed the document submission with us and delayed by a week. He had to pay another 100,000 more to submit his file for that same program.
Wow. Well, thank you. I have just a couple of questions here, and then we'll close this off. Thank you so much for everybody who has joined us on this live webinar. We have a question here. Someone wants to know whether or not that if they have a disabled kid, that child, and the child is over the age of 21 and fully dependent on the parents, are they eligible to include that child on a Portuguese golden visa?
Yes, they are. So basically, we have had multiple cases of children who are disabled who had to be added, and it is very easy. The countries are very understanding, and the process is very smooth. There is nothing to worry about. It's a very smooth process. They completely understand this. As long as there is proof, medical proof of it, and you have documents to support it, it's going to be a very easy process for the client.
Fantastic. Binu, thank you again so much for your time. As I talk and consult with a lot of our clients who are interested in the program investment, immigration by investment, we oftentimes talk about a portfolio that most of the sophisticated investors have. You have an investment that will yield a return that could pay dividends where you probably ultimately don't necessarily need to work if you are of high net worth. You have various reasons as to why you do certain investments and why you have a portfolio that yields certain returns at certain times and so on and so forth. But the best return, in my opinion, is the return of opportunity. People invest into the United States in the EB-5 program mostly because of opportunity. So the yield that they get may not be monetarily great, but a child that is able to come to the United States as a permanent resident save a significant amount of money on tuition, and also is not subject to an H-1B cap, where there's only 65,000 visas available, and where your child who graduates the top of his class needs to compete with 300, sometimes 500,000 other candidates for an H-1B visa if they get an opportunity to work in the United States. Opportunity is something that once you file, when you have an investment in opportunity, can yield far greater return than monetarily. Binu, thank you again so much for your time. From what I've learned on this conversation and from the experience that we've had before is the United States, though the beacon of light and the Statue of Liberty, inviting everybody to come over here, the world is your oyster, and there is an opportunity for you to hold more than one citizenship, and that would also include your mother-in-law. Binu, thank you again so much. If you have any additional questions and or have some more info, you can always find it on our website at versfeldimmigration.com. And with that, we leave you. Thank you, Binu.
Thank you, everyone who joined us today.